Hi, and welcome to Let's Bake and Cook Stuff. Thank you so much for clicking on my channel today. I do appreciate you. I am making my signature dish, and I call it not lasagna. And I call it that because it's like lasagna, but it's not lasagna. I have about 2 tablespoons of olive oil in here, heating on medium-high heat. To that, I'm adding about 2 cups of chopped mushrooms. This is a small onion. I normally use a large onion, but this is a small onion. 1 orange bell pepper, but use whatever color bell pepper you want. I am putting a jalapeno pepper in there. That is completely and totally optional. Then I've got about 2 tablespoons of chopped garlic. You can see this is a sauce loaded with vegetables, right? You can feel good about it. Yes, it's pasta. Some salt and pepper. This is to taste. I would say if you have to measure it, it's going to be a teaspoon or so of pepper and a teaspoon or so of salt. We're going to let these vegetables cook down. It's going to take about 5 minutes, and then we'll be back to finish our sauce. It smells so good in here. We're about halfway there. Let's see how these have cooked down quite a bit. There's still quite a bit of liquid coming off of those veggies. In another couple of minutes, we'll be done, and we're going to finish our sauce. Okay, our vegetables have cooked down quite a bit. I have one 28-ounce can of, this was whole tomatoes, which I processed in this little food processor here. I like to buy the whole tomatoes and then crush them myself. I think you get a better quality tomato like that. This is about 1/2 cup of red wine. If you don't do alcohol, you could certainly put like maybe a tablespoon or so of red wine vinegar in there. And now now this is my vegetarian version. If you wanted to use hamburger meat or an Italian sausage, you would put that in, you would cook that in before you put your vegetables in, okay? But I'm using vegetarian beef crumbles, 1 cup, and 1 cup of the vegetarian Italian sausage. You thought you'd have to give up those flavors if you became a vegetarian, didn't you? But you don't. I'm gonna stir this in. Now I want this to cook for about 10 minutes, just so the flavors can marry. And then we'll be back. Oh, I forgot to mention, I already cooked my rigatoni. You can use any short pasta with this. I've used elbow macaroni. The first time I made it, I actually made it with a whole bunch of different pastas that I had, little bits of. I had like some elbow macaroni, some shell macaroni. I actually did have some lasagna that I broke up into pieces, and I just put that in a pot and cooked it. And that's how I actually created it in the first place. But I don't have that kind of pasta potpourri left over right now. And I'm just using rigatoni. I did cook it till al dente. You want to cook it right before it gets to al dente. If it says 9 to 11 minutes, cook it just right before 9 minutes, because it's also going to have to cook in the sauce when we put it in the oven. Okay, so you don't want it overcooked and too rubbery. Next, I also forgot to mention that I saved a bit of the pasta water. We may or may not need this, but I like to always have a little bit of it on hand just in case we do. Okay, I'm going to let this cook for about 10 minutes, and then I'm going to be back. Take a look at this sauce, though. Wait until you see this. Look at that. Oh, it's so good. We'll be back in a few minutes. Don't go away. Okay, while our sauce is still brewing, I wanted to go ahead and get our ricotta layer done. This is 2 cups of ricotta cheese. The first time I made this, I used cottage cheese. I didn't used to like ricotta cheese. Now I absolutely love it. It's funny how your tastes change. But the first time I made it, I used cottage cheese, so feel free to use cottage cheese if you have it. I've got some parsley cut up. This is fresh parsley, but if you have dried parsley, go ahead and use that. Got about a tablespoon of chopped garlic, 1 egg, and just a couple of tablespoons of shredded Parmesan cheese. Add a little bit of salt, just a couple of dashes, and a little bit of pepper, and that's to taste. You want that ricotta to be flavored. Ricotta is kind of a neutral flavor. I love it. I used to know this girl in my office. She used to eat it in a bowl. She was an Italian girl, and she would eat it in a bowl just sprinkled with cinnamon on it. We're going to be right back to put this together. It's going to be so good. Take a look at that sauce. Stay tuned, this is delicious. Okay, we've been going for a little while now. I'm going to taste this and see if the seasoning is proper. And I'm going to take just a tiny little bite. That's good. This is delightful. I'll show you what it looks like. It's so good. Okay, we can get that turned off. I'm gonna pour my rigatoni. This is 1 pound of rigatoni. See how it has the little ridges on it? That holds on to your sauce a little bit better than if you have the slick kind, but literally any pasta will work. Anybody who's ever been to my house for dinner has had this. This is one thing that I serve. I have served to many, many people over the years. It's my favorite dish. It was the first one that I ever created on my own without a recipe, and I was so proud of it. And then I realized it's pretty much, you know, baked pasta. It was invented before I invented it, but I'm taking credit for this particular recipe. Looks pretty good, but I think it's going to dry up a little bit as we bake it in the oven. So I am going to add probably about 1/2 cup of the pasta liquid. Okay, this is a 10 by 15 pan. I've also done it in a 9 by 13 and it worked out fine. You could eat this like this. This would be delicious like this. Okay, now we're going to do our ricotta cheese layer. Everybody in my family has had this dish, and most of my friends have had this dish. I used to, when I first made it, I used to eat meat. I made it with hamburger and Italian sausage. And I struggled for ways to figure out how to do it. And then a friend of mine introduced me to the Morningstar Farms meat substitutes, and I never looked back. So you want to spread this over the top pretty evenly. I have 12 ounces of mozzarella cheese. All right, now I'm just putting on some shredded Parmesan. This is going to go into a 375-degree oven for about 40-45 minutes. If it starts to brown too much, you can certainly cover it with foil. We'll see you back here when it's done. Okay, my not lasagna is ready. One of the cool things is you don't have to wait for it. You know how when you make lasagna, you have to make it sit for a few minutes before you can cut into it? This you can serve immediately. So good. All those flavors. You've got the onion, the bell pepper, the garlic. Anyway, super good. Please try this at home. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing to my channel if you'd like to see more videos from me. And I will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. You take care now.